We're all here tonight. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. Huh? Yes, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic, nation, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. March 10th, 2021, regular meeting of Board of Education called to order at 7 o'clock. Okay. First order of business, consent agenda. Resolve the Board of Education approves the consent agenda consisting of approval of warrants, minutes. A motion?
Make a motion?
Don made a motion, second.
Second.
Valerie is seconded. Discussion. Discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed? Okay, communication reports and announcements, additions or amendments to the agenda. Resolve the Board of Education approves the agenda for the March 10th, 2021 meeting as presented or amended. Have motion.
Make a motion?
Don made a motion, second.
Second.
Valerie is seconded. Discussion. Do we need an executive session, sir?
Yes, we do. Negotiations.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? No further discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed? Carried. Communications board president? No, none. Communications from principal?
I have one item for right now. So last night, a group of about 27 through 12th graders went to Toggenburg to ski and snowboard. To say they had a great time would be an understatement. They really enjoyed themselves. I think all but two took lessons on how to snowboard and ski. And a really big thank you to the Optimist Club for funding the trip. It was all the kids talked about throughout the day, and they're ready to go for more. So it was really exciting to be able to give them that opportunity and to be together and get outside and get active. And there's a picture of the group in the Google Drive for you. And we also put them on Facebook too. That's it for me for right now.
Okay, very good, thank you. Communication by district clerk.
I just wanted to remind the board about the Boces annual dinner meeting. There is no dinner, and it's via Zoom, but it's April 14th at 5 p.m. I have Bernie and Sean signed up, and the Boces budget vote and election will be held on Tuesday, April 27th. And I also wanted to talk a little bit about the calendar, our board calendar. We have our next board meeting. I have down as Tuesday, April 20th. But we also have a meeting down on the calendar for Tuesday, April 27th for the Boces budget vote. So I don't know if the board wants to talk about combining those or if we want to hold those both. And that is all I have.
Okay, thank you. What do we do? When we can't vote on the Boces, but we have to vote it on the 27th, right? Or the,
Correct.
you want to meet on the 27th instead of the 20th?
Yeah, we can push it out. I mean,
Or you
we're
just
okay
want?
with pushing out that long, unless you think we're gonna need 2 meetings. The budget coming up.
So the issue is with the budget right now, is we're waiting on Albany for some kind of revenue ideas. So if we're going to go back to the 27th, then we probably, once we have a number from Albany, maybe we should set up a meeting for early April. And then move that other one back to the 27th. Because the 27th would be too late to wait on any budget decisions.
Okay, we can do that again. Meet early in April, and then again on the 27th,
Yeah.
so we can vote on the budget on the 27th.
Boces budget, yeah.
Okay,
So,
we can't do it the 14th, that's annual meeting, right?
Boces meeting,
Right.
14th, so you got the 7th.
Krista, what time's the annual meeting on the 14th for Boces?
I,
5 PM.
How's that gonna last? And now that's,
I don't think that meeting's going to go very long. I can find out. Let me find out how long they think that's going to go, because a lot of the usual things probably are not going to take place. You know, they'll introduce the board members that are up for election, and they'll go over the administrative budget. But beyond that, I don't know. Let me find out. So let's do this. Let me find out how long they think that meeting's going to go, because maybe we can do that and then have our meeting right afterwards. That's the 14th. Yeah, so the only issue would be the New York State's supposed to have the budget adopted on the 1st of April. If there's a year they're going to miss it, I would say this is going to be the year.
can't imagine that BOCES meeting will be very long. Closing, voting on the candidates and presenting the budget would be about the only thing. Usually they you go to the other departments and stuff and have a meal, and that's not gonna happen. So, but yeah, okay,
So we'll get out some more information and go from there.
all right. Very good. Okay, Krista? All right,
Yep, all set.
okay. Okay, communications, our superintendent.
Okay, so to start, I need to say there are some people out there watching, so if anybody, this is being live streamed. So if anybody has any questions, simply email them to me, and then I'll read the email. So the email address is jplows@brookfieldcsd.org, jplows@brookfieldcsd.org. Okay. So let's talk to begin with about what we're referring to as the Onondaga County proposal. And I mentioned a little bit about it in my memo. Basically, Onondaga County came out, and I watched the briefing they did on this and on television, because we knew it was coming. And the Department of Health in Onondaga County said, where I took it in, when I did it live on the television, is that it's okay for school districts to reduce their social distancing from 6 feet to 3 feet, given certain circumstances. And they kind of qualified it with, you have to have a barrier, students have to wear masks all the times, which we do now anyways. And they gave other criteria for school districts in Onondaga County to be able to do that. So then I think it was the next day, they had put this together in writing and they sent it out, and I got a copy of it. And I thought it was interesting to note that it said policy proposal. It didn't say Department of Health policy. It said policy proposal, which that started making sense to me, because it's been clear since the beginning of the pandemic and the New York State Department of Health is the oversight body that has jurisdiction over the requirements in school and the requirements for social distancing in school. And the New York State Department of Health was still saying, and is still saying today, 6 feet. So we thought about that. And since then, we've had conversations with the Madison County superintendents, the Oneida County superintendents. There's been maybe a meeting or two, definitely one with the Oneida County Department of Health, and the Oneida Boces superintendents. And there's been a lot of conversation. I think we had one meeting, a lot of conversation between the Madison County superintendents and the Madison County Department of Health. And right now, the number still is in Madison County, and I believe in Oneida County also, 6 feet. That's my interpretation. I think most of the other superintendents agree with that. However, we have to ask ourselves, what if the guidance does go to 3 feet? And I should back up for a second. So there was a question about the superintendent's lobbying state education department and lobbying the Department of Health to reduce the social distancing requirements from 6 feet to 3 feet. And the question basically was, are you doing this? My reply to that was, Brookfield will follow the science. So whatever the scientists say, that's what we will follow. But we will not exert pressure on the scientists. I think they need to do their jobs. And we need to let them do their jobs without political pressure. And as much as we'd all like it to go to 3 feet and bring all the students back that would allow, I think we need to follow the science. So if the science says, now this is where we're at right now, we are making plans should the scientists, the health professionals tell us that it's okay to go to 3 feet, we are making plans to do so. There's a lot of planning, and it's every time we've met on this and we talk through the different areas, the dominoes start falling. Okay, now we got to address this. Now we got to address this. But we're doing it. We're putting a plan together. So, having said that, that's kind of where we're at, and I'm going to look to Ms. Smith and say, Ms. Smith, do you just want to talk a little bit about some of the things we're considering here?
So,
Talk a lot if you want, that's fine. Talk a lot.
right. So as we're looking to bring back additional students, a few of the things that we look at is how much room do we have, and keeping 6 feet in mind. So one thing that between Mrs. Phillips and I, we've gone around to each classroom, looking at what space we have and what our needs will be if we have a full class back in that room. For the most part, we're finding that students would fit safely at the 6 feet. We're also, talking about getting some of the plastic barriers that attach to the desk as another layer of protection. We have seen there's a few grade levels that are, they have 19, 20, 21 students who won't fit in just one classroom. So we're looking at the classrooms that are available right now and seeing if there's the possibility of splitting those two or one class into 2 groups. So we're confident that we have that ability, but our main thing is trying to keep everybody safe and at that 6 feet. Another thing that could cause a potential hiccup, but not a huge one, is looking at the special area classes in our schedule. That's something that Mrs. Phillips and I will look at over the next few days to see exactly what areas we need to staff and what areas we need to combine. But I think right now that will be one of our biggest hills to climb is looking at the schedule, because right now, as you know, it's split into 2 different days, orange and blue. And when you're bringing them back together, we're really crafting the schedule from the beginning. So that will take some work and take some time for us to get that spot on. And of course, we're looking at the areas of transportation and seeing, do we have to add 1 or 2 more bus routes to accommodate the students coming back all at the same time. So there's a lot of areas that we're looking at, and a lot of things are happening simultaneously, but I think we're making some good progress toward our goal of bringing all of our students back. Any questions?
Okay, so Ms. Smith, I'll give an example of how this factors into some of the specials and see if I get it right. How's that sound? So
Sure.
Let's think about physical education for elementary classrooms. So physical education is still required for 12-foot spacing between the students in physical education. So right now, with being on a hybrid schedule, orange and blue day, we're able to run our physical education classes. If we bring back an entire classroom, then the gym would not be large enough to hold all the students at the same time. We use physical education so that a teacher can get their planning period while their class is at physical education. So if a magic wand is waved and we can go outside, not an issue, the whole class can go outside. But if we're inside on that day, we don't have enough room in the gymnasium. So let's say half the class has to stay. Now we need to find some place in the schedule for an adult to be in the room with that group of students that stay in the classroom. So Mrs. Phillips and Ms. Smith are working on all those types of issues. Should we be able to bring more students back? Fair enough, Ms. Smith?
That's well said. Yep.
Okay. So we're planning, but the guidance is still 6 feet. If they change the guidance tomorrow, then we still would not be ready to go tomorrow. The superintendents I've talked with, and I think this is about the same timeline we would be on, is they don't think that they could pull it off, and we don't think we could pull it off until after April break. April break is the first week in April this year. Correct on that, first week in April, Ms. Smith?
Yeah, we start Good Friday, April 2nd.
Okay. We have ordered the barriers that go on students' desks, just in case. I really don't know what the lead time is on those barriers, but they have been ordered. I guess we don't interpret that, please, that we believe it's going to go to 3 feet. I have no idea whether it's going to or not, but we felt that if it does, the benefits of having more of the students in the building on a daily basis are huge, and we need to prepare for that. So any questions or comments on that topic? Okay, so I guess to sum it up, this is something that I think has worked well for us. We've been, I think, very fortunate in our building, and as far as not having any transmission of the virus between students in the building. And I think that when we talk about this with the Department of Health and with our colleagues at the other school districts, the Department of Health indicates it's because we follow the guidance in the opening plans and the reopening plans. And the reopening plans were based on the science. And so no matter which way the pressure comes or goes from in school districts, I really think the best course of action for our students and community is to continue to follow science. And I know we all have your support on that. That's, but we all very much, every one of us in this building would love to bring all these kids back right tomorrow. Okay, anything else? So moving on. So then some people, as we move on, would say, well, and they're right. They would say, well, what about sports? We're playing sports, and we are. We have a sports team in the gymnasium right now practicing. At least they were a little while ago. And we had baseball practicing earlier. Softball's down there right now. And here's the difference. The difference is that Governor Cuomo, in an executive order back a little while ago, gave the authority to approve or not approve interscholastic sports to the county health departments. And so some health departments put out guidance that was more lenient than other health departments. So that kind of fragmented what's going on across the state. Instead of having one policy statewide, there are now multiple policies when it comes to interscholastic sports, depending on the county that you're in. So where we are on sports is that we followed the recommendation of the Board of Health originally and stayed away from high-risk sports. Subsequent to that, the Board of Health has now, because changed the recommendation because the number of cases of COVID-19 in our community has decreased dramatically over the last couple of weeks. Now they have said, okay, with the proper precautions, it's okay to move forward with high-risk sports. Accordingly, when they did that, we started moving forward, planning for the fall 2 season, which the fall 2 season, if I find my calendar here, begins March 16th and ends April 18th. So beginning on March 16th, if the public health conditions do not change, we will begin soccer practice. Assuming there's enough interest in it, and we believe there's going to be, but it's kind of hard to gauge right now. So if we start fall 2 season with the public health conditions being the way they are right now, that's good, but we need to, and we hope we can. And we hope the snow leaves pretty quickly. But if the public health conditions change, we may very well have to pause that sport also. But nobody has a crystal ball. But right now in the Brookfield community, based on the Department of Health website, there are 0 active cases. So if that stays at 0, then we're good to go. And if it stays at 0, we're not seeing where there's any transmission on the soccer fields, we're good to go. But if those numbers were to start to spike again, we'd have to reevaluate that decision. Any questions? So if there are people out there that have a question, just simply as a reminder, email me, jplows@brookfieldcsd.org. Okay. Personnel, okay. Resolutions coming up later, budget, all right. So on your desk, there's just a one-page handout, and here's the only thing that's changed in the second draft of the budget versus the first draft of the budget, is that we reduced the size of the scope of any summer program that we might run. And when we reduced the size of the scope of that program, it resulted in a decrease in expenses of $70,678. Excuse me. So right now, the second draft of the budget, and it will change before it's finalized. The second draft of the budget shows the budget going up 0.71%. So slightly less than 1%, 0.71%. Where we are is, to be quite honest with you, we're on a holding pattern, I believe, until we get some type of reliable estimate out of Albany of what our state aid numbers will be next year. So this budget basically does everything we did this year, every program. It assumes that at the beginning of September, September 3rd, I believe it is, maybe September 2nd, whatever that first day for students is, it assumes all our students will be back in classrooms at full capacity. No new programs, but we didn't cut any programs either. It assumes that at the end of August, soccer practices start, we run a normal soccer season. As soon as we transition over to basketball, winter sports, volleyball, all those things we're planning on doing, and hopefully we'll be able to. It's in this budget. Okay. I think last time we talked briefly about the current tax cap calculation. I don't remember the exact number, but it was something like 3 to 4%. And I wanted it's up to the school board, but I doubt that we're going to do anything that size. But then again, we got to wait for some state aid numbers. And I do think that Albany's preoccupied with some things right now, so this might be an unusual year as far as getting numbers. Okay, I believe that's all that I have, except for whatever's in resolutions that is coming up later. Thank you very much.
Go. Okay, next order of business is resident participation. Do we have any residents?
We do not. Let me refresh this. There are no emails. Okay.
Okay. Open to business. Okay, resolution nominating United Boces Cooperative Board member, resolve the Board of Education upon recommendation of the superintendent. Approves a resolution to nominate Mrs. Doreen Corbin, 10124 Hanborough Road, Brookfield, New York, 13314 for a 3-year term to serve on the United Herkimer Medicine Boces Board.
Motion.
Made motion, second.
Second.
Valerie, a second. Discussion? Then no further discussion. We'll vote. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So carried. Personnel appointments as substitutes. Resolve the Board of Education by the recommendation of superintendent approves the following substitutes for the 2020-2021 school year, retroactive to September 1st, 2020. Okay, instructional, Abigail Harris, Rick Bostic, Kendra Daling, Katrina Townsend, Kaylee Cleary, Lori Fitzpatrick, Courtney Townsend, Patty Louise, Rory Harris, Marjorie Wilcox, Amber Mead, and Anoita Wright. Antonio. Sorry. Non-instructional, Lori Fitzpatrick, Katrina Townsend, Margaret Wilcox, Abigail Harris, Kendra Dealing, Courtney Townsend, Antonia Wright, and Patty Louise. A motion,
Make a motion.
on the motion, second.
Second.
Already seconded, discussion.
So all these people have been approved previously and substituted for us previously.
Okay, very good. There's no further discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed? Carried. Okay, personnel appointment of soccer coaches. Resolved, the Board of Education on recommendation superintendent approves the appointment of Julia Pincos, girls modified soccer coach, Kevin Abrams modified, boys modified soccer coach, Sarah Abrams girls varsity soccer coach, Ken Flowers boys varsity soccer coach effective March 10th, 2021. Salary for this position is $70 per day. Such appointments are contingent upon each employee obtaining all necessary clearance set forth by the Commissioner of Education prior to the first day of practice. Motion.
Make a motion.
John made the motion, second.
Second.
Valerie is seconded, discussion.
Bernie, there's a typo error in that. The salary is per contract, it's not $70 a day. That's my mistake.
Per contract. Okay. No further discussion? We have a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed? Carried. We have an addition to the agenda. Approval of the 2021 notice of annual meeting and budget and election results. Board of Education on recommendation of the superintendent approves the 2021 notice of the annual meeting budget election as attached. A motion.
Make a motion.
John has made a motion, second.
Second.
Valerie has seconded, discussion. There's no discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, so carried. I believe that's it. Okay, resolve the Board of Education Board of Education enter executive session for the purpose of discussing, we said, contractor
Negotiations.
negotiations. All right. Negotiations. The motion,
Make a motion.
John made motion, second.
Second.
Valerie is seconded, discussion. No discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, so carried. And it is 7:35, like that.